Let me give you a little crash course on how God trains you to do his will. Are you ready? Lecture number 1, he allows your will to fail you. Because he knows that the human spirit is so stubborn, it will not easily allow God to take his place. So he will be patient. The way God trains you to trust his will is to be patient towards you while you do your thing. He won't hate you, he loves you, but he needs to give you a reason to trust him. He said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. The next verse says, be not wise in your own understanding. That is the mission of that course, to bring you to a point where in experience you stop being wise in your own understanding. It says, but fear the Lord and turn away from evil. So here you are with all you are a first-class graduate, respectfully speaking, and that is wonderful. You come from a privileged family, respectfully speaking. Every time you see people worshiping and rolling on the ground and say, God, if you don't move, I cannot go anywhere. It doesn't make sense to you. You are a sincere Christian, but you are surrounded by too much advantage to make God necessary. So what happens is that in the midst of what is supposed to work, you will be surprised that you will do everything right. Listen, there are times that you have the net to fish. The net is correct. There are times you are in the sea. If it's fish you are looking for, you should be in the river. There are times you have a boat, yet you will not catch fish. At such times, you don't need fishing again. You need Jesus. So when Jesus resurrected, are you getting the program now? Because many of you, this is the season you are in spiritually. For a long time you've heard preachers say lay everything down. When you hear the language of surrender, you say I'm not in ministry. Just allow the preachers to do that. You see, in the gospel of salvation, you don't really give your life to Christ as we say, even though we say it generically and we understand what we are saying. But you don't give your life to Christ, you receive his life. Giving your life to Christ is now what truly makes you a useful vessel in the kingdom. Surrender. Surrender is the language of those who will be mightily used by God. They are not fools, but they have learned that outside of God's influence over my life, I don't trust what I can do. The variables are too many and I am too limited. Even my lifetime will not give me an opportunity to educate myself by myself to handle all the variables that make for an excelling life. That is the reason why you can find somebody who, physically speaking, everything around him is a disadvantage, should not be having the results they are having. You add everything up and that equation is unfair, because as foolish as they were, they found themselves in the will of God. Everybody who entered the house in the days of in Egypt, you didn't have to be a wise man. Once you could enter the house and there was blood on your lintel, you will be saved from death. No matter how powerful you were, if you were outside, you would die. So you see, behind all the applause that you celebrate, in quote, celebrities in the kingdom, every wise person knows that all you are seeing is not a true reflection of my capacity. I am as weak as anything. My advantage and my confidence is by the leading of the Spirit and the mercy of God. He meandered me to find my place in the will of God, and I found my rest in the will of God. No wonder he says, come unto me, all you who labor, and that you are not. He's not calling lazy people. He's saying you have tried. You won't get ministry that way. Man of God, you are sincere. It is true that you have done lessons, and that is good. Someone one day met me and said, Apostle, this thing about healing the sick, I'm getting angry now because I've tried and tried and tried, and it looks like I know it's the will of God for sick people to be healed, but why can't I see this thing in my life? I mean, I've read, you know, and he even said he had listened to my message, and I told him, I said, my brother, you have done all these things well. You remind me of the rich man in the Bible, that Jesus, he said, I've given to the poor. He said this one thing, go and sell all you have, then follow me. You know what he was telling him? give up on everything that becomes the basis of your confidence. Depend on my will. The man said, this is hard. I don't hate you, but this is hard. Can I tell you, when you understand the will of God, the proof that you understand his will is that you will cry. If you laugh, you don't understand it yet. Because the will of God, listen, the will of God means that sometimes everything you have stood upon all your life, even if it is Isaac who represents your future, you are willing to give it. Do you know what it means to stand in the will of God? To lose the ability to tell him no. That you can be in Lagos for 30 years and God can say it's time for you to move to Abeokuta or Ondo State, or to move to Bauchi State, and you know it's God. It is his responsibility to bring all the verification systems you need. But if and when you know it is him, it is now up to you to say, Lord, I don't know where you are taking me to, but let me be stupid enough to go. Read the stories of champions in scripture. Some of them moved like fugitives, only led by the will of God. There was no guarantee anywhere. There are some of you, you came for this meeting tonight, and while you are sitting, God is answering you now and say the reason why your entire life is marking time is not because you are not praying, it's not because you are not fasting, but notice the 10% answers to your life is the part that came close to his will. The part that is outside his will seems to not, the purpose of the fasting is not his will. The fasting is just a system to twist God's hand to make sure your will comes to pass. And he says, no, you can fast for 100 days. If it is your will you are trying to bring, you will use your energy and your strength.